Are you there?
Yes, good morning. I am here. Are you hearing
I
me?
am not. Well, I'm hearing you through my earpiece. So we just have to have the conversation. I trust the rest of the world is hearing you. All right. So how is the election going? How is the campaign going, rather?
It is actually going very well. It is going extremely well. And we have, as you've been saying, putting in the work. I was listening to you for a little bit there. Are you not hearing?
All right. I'm hearing you through my earpiece. So I will work with that. So I trust the rest of the world is hearing you. So I could work with that. All right. Let's get. All right. What are the issues you're confronted with that people will needs to, well, that you, what are some of the issues that you're confronted with?
So let me probably go back a little bit to what you were saying before, though. We have a situation there. You were talking about putting in the work. We have a situation here, though, where there are people um, who have been paid for a job that they've quote unquote been doing for the last 10 years, and they have not been putting in the work. And that is really where the campaign is this season for this general election. We have two MPs, Tobago East and Tobago West, who have been there in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago for the last 10 years, and they have not been putting in the work. They have not been fighting on behalf of the people of Tobago. They have not been advocating for the people of Tobago. They sat there in the parliament or in the cabinet and allowed the government of Trinidad and Tobago to save 40 something million dollars instead of paying the residents who they displaced from Crown Point where the airport was being built. They sat there and they did not put in the work, Brother B. And this is why the Tobago People's Party is putting in the work on the ground now to ensure that Tobagonians recognize that what we need are fighters in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago and fighters in the people of David Joseph Thomas and Joel Nutsi Sampson. That is what we've been doing. That is where the work needs to happen. And those two individuals were there collecting a salary and definitely not putting in the work. So we are telling the people of Tobago to not give them another chance because you gave them two whole terms already, and we see that they have not been fighting for us. Going back to the question you asked, what have we recognized? Our challenge really is that of having to counteract inaccurate, false, misleading, and disruptive campaigning when the people of Tobago are quite clear about what is the truth and what is honest. So, for example, I understand that those on the other side are now going around telling people that Robinson and Dr. Murray and they did not give Tobago autonomy or were not part of the fight for Tobago's autonomy. And anybody, Brother B, who knows anything about the history of the Tobago House of Assembly knows that that is far from the truth. That is far from the truth. But those on the other side are continually going around spreading that kind of misinformation because they have been there for the last two terms and they have not put in the work and they are coming back to the people of Tobago with having failed miserably and trying to hoodwink them, providing inaccurate information to force Tobago to give them another chance. That is the kind of thing that we are fighting against in this campaign. And I pray that Tobago does not fall for that kind of distraction this time around and that they vote squarely for the Tobago People's Party, which is the anchor on the ballot paper.
Natsi, Mr. Sampson did speak to the whole idea of those people who are displaced. He said that roughly 10 people are still paying rent, and the THA is assisting those individuals. And of course, the price for their land has reduced by the THA. Just speak to what are they paying now for those lands and those who are still paying rent and assisted by the THA.
Yes, so the assistance that's coming to them from the THA is actually coming from my division, the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. And we made that decision. And let's just think about this. The Tobago House of Assembly is already significantly underfunded every single financial year. And in addition to everything that we are doing normally, we now have to take out of that little pittance that we have to fix the issues that they left because they did not pay those individuals the correct compensation for their lands, and because those individuals were not paid correctly, they were not paid properly, we now have to help them. I think we are doing a $15 per. I am horrible when it comes to those things, when it comes to land and so forth. But what the Tobago House of Assembly is doing is, in essence, allowing the residents to occupy the property that they have been assigned, pay us peppercorn prices, pay little to nothing. As a matter of fact, the chief actually said, put on $100, put on your $100 just so that we have some kind of transfer of money between you and we, and go and start a bill on the land, because it is unfair what has happened to you. And what is most important, Brother B, most important, is the fact that 𝐓𝐴𝐷𝐾𝐚𝐬 sat down in that parliament and allowed them to do that to the people that she's claiming to have represented, when the fact is, the former minister of finance could have boasted when they were asking him about the savings or what the cost associated with the airport. The one thing the man spoke about in terms of savings was that they saved $46 million that should have gone to the reallocation part of it. That $46 million is what they had budgeted to pay the people of Tobago, and they did not pay them. And 𝐓𝐴𝐷𝐾𝐚𝐬 sat down in the parliament and allowed her colleagues in Trinidad, her PNM colleagues in Trinidad, to do that to the people of Tobago. And she has the gall to come back now and ask Tobagonians to vote for her again. I hope the people of Tobago West do not make that mistake again. I pray they do not make that mistake again.
Very good. All right, so we got and $100. You say pepper seed cost.
So don't
That the
quote me on the
residents
figures.
have to pay. Yes.
Don't really quote me on the figure, but what we've done, because I don't have that right in front of me, as you
Okay. All
recognize,
right.
this
No
is a
problem.
very impromptu call.
Yeah.
I don't quote the figure, but we've really said to them, we are charging you way less than what the PNM was charging you for the land. And by the way, whatever you can bring to the table, bring it and go and start to build your house.
Very good. All right. Let's talk about some of what the two the candidates are offering Tobago from the from the TPP standpoint. What are some of the goodies that have been offered by the TPP representatives?
So it's not really, I wouldn't think about it as goodies. I would think about this election as Tobago having the opportunity to finally come back to the table with two representatives who will actually speak on behalf of Tobago. Our biggest issue right now is the fact that the government of Trinidad and Tobago does not respect the Tobago House of Assembly and does everything in its power to stymie the works of the Tobago House of Assembly. What do I mean by that? I mean that right now, for example, we have a dispute resolution commission that allows the government of Trinidad and Tobago to give the people of Tobago between 4.03 and 6.9% of the budget every year. The population of Tobago now sits at about 5.5% of the population of Trinidad and Tobago. Every year since we've been in the executive, we've been saying to the government, give us at least $1 fare for every citizen that is in Trinidad. Every citizen in Tobago gets a fair dollar amount based on that. So we have been saying to them, give us at least the 5.5% that we are the percentage of the population. We have also been getting significant challenges to do anything that requires the government of Trinidad and Tobago to provide support. And when I say provide support, I mean, for example, if we need, and I can't remember who spoke about it recently on the platform, that when we were working on developing the Tobago Development Bank, one of the United Nations agencies, was trying to provide technical support. Hear what I said, Brother B? Technical support. They were not giving us a loan, they were not giving us money, they were just trying to come and sit down with we so that when we do the development bank, it come out properly and it look good and it smell good and it tastes good and it does what it needs to do for the people of Tobago. All the government of Trinidad and Tobago had to do was write a non-objection letter. What is a non-objection letter? It says, we say we have no problem with you, UN, going to Tobago to help the Tobago House of Assembly do this. Up to now, we can't get that letter, Brother B. Up to now, we cannot get that letter from the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So what we are saying is not goodies. What we are doing is sending two freedom fighters to Trinidad to ensure that the government in Trinidad, to ensure that the parliament in Trinidad hears the voice of Tobagonians and not hears the voice of a party, but hears the voice of Tobagonians, so that whoever is the government of Trinidad and Tobago would need these two seats, and therefore they will be forced to negotiate with us to provide the resources that we need. They will be forced to negotiate with us to not do us the kind of wickedness that they've been doing us for the last 3 years. Remember, Dr. Rowley is the one who said that if we don't vote for him, he will not forgive us. We have experienced that every single day since that time he said it. And what we are doing is sending Joel Marcus Sampson and David Joseph Thomas to Trinidad to fight for the people of Tobago. It's not goodies. What we are sending them to do is fight for our rights.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the word freedom there. I could interpret that to mean what? Do we need to break free, do you think?
Well, we need to ensure that we are treated fairly. Now, if you have something that is in captivity and the thing wants to be treated with fairness and decency and order, then the thing needs to fight for that. And that is what we are saying, We are not saying that we want to quote unquote separate from Trinidad, but what we are saying is that we want an equitable share of the resources that is Trinidad and Tobago,
Right.
so that we can develop in Tobago at the same rate that Trinidad has been developing. So what we're trying to do now is really try to catch up, or that is all we're trying to do right now, catch up. And let me give you a perfect example of the kind of fairness and equity that I'm talking about. The Red House in Trinidad, a wonderful statue, a wonderful piece of our history and our social everything. They took, Brother B, $400 million to renovate it. $400 million. It's not me, sister. It's them that print it in the people, them paper. They report it and print it in the papers. $400 million to renovate one building in Port of Spain, while they are giving the entire Tobago House of Assembly $205 million to renovate the whole of Tobago. Is that fair, Brother B?
No, it's not. Right.
That
So let
cannot
me
be
stay there.
fair.
Yeah. Let's stay there, Doc. All right. So we are asking for percentage of the budget. We have natural gas, and we have right there in we got the fort, and we see the fire out there, and we know that's natural gas and so on. We had the conversation with Mr. Thomas. How do we have this equitable distribution, given that we in the Tobago waters are seeing where the natural gas is coming from? How do we have that conversation to convince, and do we need to convince that equitable distribution of the wealth needs to be equally and distributed here in Tobago so that we can develop Tobago? In their mind, based on what we are seeing, is that they can stay where they are and say, all right, you need a marina, we come in and fix that for you. You need a airport, we come in and do that for you. And so on. The Scarborough Secondary School, that has had its bacchanal back and forth between the two secretaries, the Secretary of Education and the Ministry of Education. Let's speak to how we come to a place where we don't have to beg for what is duly ours, Dr. Faith.
If we had two ministers of parliament who were truly representing the people of Tobago, we would have never had to beg. That is the bottom line. If we had a Minister of Parliament for Tobago East and a Minister of Parliament for Tobago West that actually represented Tobago and did not represent their red party, they would have been the one down there saying, hey, you see this thing relating to Scarborough Sec, we are doing it the wrong way. Let us work with the Tobago House of Assembly to see how we can work with them to get it done correctly. they would have been down there saying all of the things that you just said. They would have been the ones down there saying to them, you know that the oil and gas fields that you are talking about, the oil and gas fields that you are talking about are really in the Tobago waters, and therefore the Tobago House of Assembly really should be getting a little bit more of that compared to what you try to give them right now. They are the ones who should be making those arguments for us, and that is what this entire election is about, Brother B. That is what this entire election is about. It is about sending two people who fighting down there for us, so we do not have, we being the Tobago House of Assembly, do not have to do those little fights, those petty fights all the time in Trinidad, against Trinidad, and we could sit down here, and me as Secretary for Health and so forth could sit down here and do our work.
All right, so there's a development plan, redevelopment of Scarborough that was proposed some years ago. The funding for that is another issue. There are other development plans for Tobago by the TPP. Let's talk about some of those. Where is that plan for the redevelopment of Scarborough? Where is it?
You should really, I wonder if the member for Tobago East or the member for Tobago West came on your show, because that is who you should ask. Because we sent those plans. I mean, we copied pages, copied and sent to them. And they have said nothing, done nothing. As a matter of fact, I understand the Prime Minister must throw it aside and say he don't want to do nothing about that because they already have another plan and they going ahead and do what they have to do. Imagine that, eh? Imagine that, Brother B. And that is what people are out here trying to defend. The Prime Minister who should have, or the former Prime Minister who should have been a Tobagonian, should have been the first one lifting it up, saying, hey, this is a really good plan, or even if you think it's not such a good plan, to come back to the people of Tobago, come back to the Tobago House of Assembly and say, yes, let us rework it, let us see how we could work together. Toss it aside and said nothing. Tossed it aside. That is what we are talking about. And Ayanna Webster Roy and Shamfa Kojo-Lewis is sitting right there with them. Sitting right there with them and allowing them to disrespect the people of Tobago like that. In every single opportunity, they sit there and allow them to disrespect. That is what I'm talking about. And they are coming and telling Tobagonians now that we should give them another chance to let them just disrespect us again. That is not fair, Brother B. It is not fair.
All right. So, and we, you know, as much as you said, speak to the candidates about plans going forward. Obviously, that wonderful redevelopment of Scarborough got my interest, and anybody who wants to see Tobago develop knows that Scarborough is 100 years behind. And there are other areas of development that you may want to share with us that the two representatives may not have spoken to it this morning. But obviously, there should be, to let the public know what are some of the plans, maybe a sneak peek into not necessarily your manifesto, but whatever the plans are.
So let me be 100% clear. This general election is about ensuring that what happens in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago adequately reflects the wants and needs of Tobagonians. This general election is not about what the two candidates will do on the ground in Tobago. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. So the Tobago House of Assembly, for example, has the plans of, let me just use my example, let's use Scarborough Sec, has the plans of developing Scarborough Sec. The education is one of the items under the 5th schedule of the Tobago House of Assembly Act. Therefore, anything relating to Scarborough Sec rightly should be done by the Tobago House of Assembly. What we are sending the future MP for Tobago East, David, and the future MP for Tobago West, Joel, is to make sure that they go down to the Parliament and they negotiate to ensure that the Tobago House of Assembly has everything that it needs to do the Scarborough Sec project. What we do not want, which is what it sounds like they are going down the road of, is the Minister of Education trying to come up to Tobago to try to tell we Secretary for Education what to do with Scarborough Sec. We will have none of that. We will have none of that. And that is what we need to ensure that people understand, that the plans that the Tobago House of Assembly has for Tobago are based on what is written in the fifth schedule of the Tobago House of Assembly Act. But we just need two fighters to go to Trinidad to make sure that we have the resources on one end. So we're talking about the money, the capacity on the other end to make laws, for example, so that if something happens to us, if we have to make a law pertaining to the Buccal Reef right now in Tobago, Buccal Reef or Nylon Pool, if we have to make a law about that right now, we need to send that law to the cabinet, not even directly to the parliament, to the cabinet, for a minister in the cabinet to decide whether they want to carry it to the parliament or not, for it to then become a law. We have actually sent a bill exactly like that since I was in the minority. Brother B, and it can't reach the parliament floor yet. That is 3-4 years ago. It can't reach the parliament floor yet since I was in the minority. So we are asking them to make sure, for example, that the Tobago House of Assembly Act as amended is going to allow us in the Tobago House of Assembly to make a bill and to make a law for Buccal Reef or Nylon Pool and have it sent straight so that the president could assent to it so that we could rule ourselves here. Those are the things, those are the areas that we want those two people to go to Trinidad and to advocate on our behalf for. Those are the plans that we have for them.
All right. You mentioned negotiate, and we have heard before the Chief Secretary said that the two Tobago seats would be our bargaining chips, so to speak, with whoever wins the general election, be it PNM or UNC. Let's speak to that. Let's say that the PNM wins. What are the negotiation strategies that you'll be going forward with, or UNC? Let's speak that negotiation issue or conversation.
So let me rephrase what you said, because what you said was somewhat inaccurate. So let me help by explaining it. What we see in Trinidad is that the two major political organizations in Trinidad are going to be neck and neck, meaning they are going to be very, very close. And one will not have an overwhelming majority compared to the other one, whichever they are, because it's tossing up and down when you listen to the NACTA polls and so forth. What we are hoping is that the two Tobago seats will determine, because we are willing to say to whichever party in Trinidad that we are going to loan these two seats to you so that you can make up the government, because you don't have enough in Trinidad for yourself. You don't have enough in Trinidad to make up the government. So we are going to use these two seats to make up the government, to help you make up the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And for us to use these two seats to help you make up the government in Trinidad and Tobago, this is what we want for those two seats. This is what we want. We want when you go to the mid-year review just now, which is just now, you actually say to Tobagonians, yes, you deserve more money, and you allocate a little bit more money to us in the Tobago in the mid-year review. You take the bill directly to Parliament so that the Tobago House of Assembly bill is amended and it makes sense. And we will allow you to form the government of Trinidad and Tobago using these two seats. And by the way, if we negotiate and say this is what we're going to do, and then you decide you don't want to do that again, we're taking up a two-seat them and go away. So you will not be the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
So the two Tobago seats was used prior, and of course we know what the outcome was. All right. So the PNM does have 41 candidates going up in this election. The UNC, on the other hand, does not have that 41. Will the two Tobago seats, and there's this talk, and I want you to put this to rest once and for all, this accommodation with the TPP and the UNC. We have heard that on other platforms, that the two Tobago seats are going to go to the UNC. As a matter of fact, a vote for the TPP is a vote for the UNC. I want you to put that to rest if it needs to be put to rest.
So the fact that you're asking that question means it does need to be put to rest. We have said very forcefully, we have said publicly, we've said privately that the Tobago People's Party is not aligned or affiliated to any other political organization. The one organization that we had some kind of affinity to, the man kicked we out of the party. Remember that? He kicked me out of a party. So we are not affiliated with any. We have now been forced to create our own political engine known as the Tobago People's Party. And we are willing and ready to negotiate with whomever brings the most goodies, using your word, to the table for the people of Tobago. That could be the UNC, it could be the PNM, whoever, because I said on another frequency, the night of election, when some people are crying and some people are rejoicing, I am sure we will be at the negotiation table. We will be there at the negotiating table on the night of election to say, well, okay, now that we see what going on in Trinidad, come talk to me now, because both of you need these 2 seats. And that is why the people of Tobago need to not make a wrong choice. The people of Tobago, and I'm telling you all, people of Tobago, you have a golden opportunity now. This opportunity may never return. It may never return. So you have to go and ensure that you place your X squarely next to the anchor. And let me just say one quick thing about that. I'm not sure what happened with EBC, but if you look at the ballot paper, the anchor seems to be hidden, or it seems to be protected in a little black box. So that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for the anchor that kind of peeping out, but it is encasted in a little black box. It is encasted in a little black box, and that is where you need to go and place your box. And in East, it is David Joseph Thomas, and in the West, it is Joel Marcus Sampson.
Lastly, before you go, are there any candidates in Tobago, independents or otherwise, have decided to throw their support behind the TPP?
We are not aware of any. I have personally not had any information about that. I don't know if any of the candidates have spoken with other candidates. I am not aware of that. But if they may recognize that, particularly they may recognize that this is really a 2-horse race and it is wasting their time to continue. But that is up to them. But this is, people have their democratic rights that they can do whatever they need to do. But we welcome support from everybody, and that is why our slogan is 60,000 strong, because we really, really want all 60,000 of us in Tobago to support the Tobago People's Party.
Very good. Dr. Faith, it was a pleasure having you, and all the best to you, and continue your campaigning. All the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. All right, so that will do it for today. I tell you, busy morning. And of course, we heard from Thompson, Mr. Joel Sampson, rather, of the TPP, and Mr. David Thomas. And following that, lastly, there was Dr. Faith Brebner. So at this point in time, we want to thank you for being part of Rise and Shine. Hey, election is Monday morning. People, this weekend will be very busy, motorcade and all of that. Be mindful, be respectful. All you just keep it peaceful, loving, and respectful. And of course, hey, we will see you on Monday. With that, on behalf of the team, embrace the urgency of today. For tomorrow is a mystery. Better be saying so long.
The Elections and Boundaries Commission advises that before Election Day, you should receive your poll card in the mail. Open it to find the address of your polling station. Keep the poll card safe and take it with you on Election Day. If you did not receive your poll card in the mail, you can still vote. A poll card will be prepared for you at your polling station. You can also visit the EBC's website at www.ebctt.com or call the hotline at 785-8206 or 785-8211 to find your polling station. On Election Day, you should check the list posted outside your polling station for your name and number. Where there are several polling stations on the same compound, an information officer will direct you to your polling station. Polling agents who act on behalf of candidates are there to witness the process. If your name is on the list of electors and you have a valid ID card, you join the green line. All other persons, including physically incapacitated, blind or visually impaired persons, should join the red line. You are required to sign your poll card in front of the poll clerk. The deputy presiding officer examines your hands and fingers. If there is no evidence of electoral ink stains, you're issued a ballot paper. The deputy presiding officer also demonstrates how to mark and fold a ballot paper using the guidance ballot and how to vote with the X stamp. The ballot paper is folded to display the initials of the deputy presiding officer and the polling station number. A blind, visually impaired or physically incapacitated person is allowed to vote with the assistance of a companion. In the privacy of the voting booth, you vote by placing an X at the right of your candidate's symbol. If you make a mark other than an X, your ballot will be rejected and not counted. Fold your ballot paper as you were previously shown by the deputy presiding officer and proceed to the officer in charge of the ballot box. Display your folded ballot paper with the initials of the deputy presiding officer and polling station number. You will then be required to dip your finger in the electoral ink before you are allowed to place your ballot paper in the ballot box. If you refuse to dip your finger in the electoral ink, you will not be allowed to vote. When you've finished with this process, wipe off the excess ink. Any problem you encounter in the polling station should be brought to the attention of the presiding officer. To vote is your right. Exercise it. A message from the Elections and Boundaries Commission, your partners in democracy.